Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Shooter Straight Podcast. It's your co-host Zach.
I'm your co-host G.
Welcome back to episode 30. First and foremost, want to go ahead and thank y'all for all the previous support we've been getting on all the other episodes. We want to thank y'all for the YouTube shorts going crazy to YouTube. We've been going crazy on the YouTube in general. TikTok, we've been going crazy. Instagram, we want to thank y'all for the continued support on all the social media platforms. Hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already, because we got a lot of content coming soon with the World Cup and NFL continuing on, getting closer to the playoff time. Hit the subscribe button to stay tuned on what's coming up. G, what you got?
Absolutely, man. We're here pumping out content for you guys. We love talking about all this stuff, and we want to hear your opinions about every single topic we covered today. Even if you don't agree with us, we want to hear it. We want to get connected with you guys as much as possible.
Exactly. We love to hear what y'all have to say. We love to hear it in the Reels comments, and we love seeing it in the YouTube comments. So put it down below, whatever you think of what we got to say. But without further ado, do you think we should just get straight into this?
Let's get right into it.
So without wasting any time, game of the day. Well, we thought it would be game of the day. I don't know. When did it played out? Maybe not. But Argentina versus Mexico. Obviously, Argentina coming off of that historic upset, losing to Saudi Arabia. We weren't sure what to expect. Mexico, they came into this game coming off of a 0-0 draw against Poland. I'm going to go ahead and pass this one off to you first. We watched the game together. What was your initial reaction to Argentina being able to pull out a 2-0 win?
Well, the start of the game, it just almost not even the start, the entire game. The entire game was horrible. I mean, it was just ugly football. There's nothing pretty about it. And Argentina had to do what they had to do. It was not a good performance by either side, realistically. I mean, Messi, scored and got an assist, but it was purely almost out of nowhere. He just pulled it out of nothing. And just how the entire game was, I believe in the first half, there's only 4 shots from both teams and none were on target. Like, this is, if there was a crime against humanity described in football, this was that game. It was just poor football. The Mexico came out super defensive, 5 in the back. They had 5 the entire game, just had everybody behind the ball. It looks like they were trying to play for a draw this game. They started out from the whistle. They were like, we're just going to get a draw this game. They went out with no urgency, and Argentina struggled with that. They didn't look like they were clicking. DePaul has been atrocious. He's looked horrible. He's almost like you can't play him next game. You have to bench him. He's been playing so bad. And just from how the entire movement of the game has been going with them, Argentina needed the win. And I think you just be happy with taking the 3 points. They needed the 3 points because I think if they drew, I wasn't going to count them to make it out anymore. But Argentina got the points they needed. Ugly or not, it's what they went into the game wanting, and they got it.
I 100% agree. From the first whistle, it was nervousness. Once again, it looked like from the Argentina players, there was a little bit of nervousness, and it was different, a different type of nervousness compared to the Saudi game. This game, they knew that if they didn't win this game, that it was going to be very hard. If they lost, it was just basically they were eliminated. But if they drew, they had a very, very slim chance of making it out. They knew pretty much they needed all 3 points here. And Mexico, I'm disappointed. They came out extremely defensive. Tata Martino, this game is on you. This is not what you expect. I saw an attacking side against Poland. They weren't able to get the goal, but I saw a team that was willing to put numbers forward, willing to connect passes. I saw in this game a team that was scared. From moment one, they were scared. They did not do anything in the final third. I can't remember a single chance Mexico had where I was holding my breath. Maybe the free kick. They had a free kick at some point in the game
That was
with Vega, and that was it. That's the only somewhat type of chance I can think of that Mexico created the entire game. It was a pathetic Mexico performance. I expected better, to be honest, because they could have put Argentina on their heels here. This is a non-confident Argentina team coming off of a loss against Saudi Arabia. If they could have nicked an early goal, Argentina would have been bad. However, they came in flat. They came in lethargic. And to be fair, Argentina, they were not able to break down this extremely defensive Mexico side. They pretty much, until Messi was able to unlock the Mexico side with the dagger, what a goal it was. It was pretty much the worst game of football, I think, in the whole World Cup. It was a terrible game to watch.
Horrible.
Mexico literally, it was just foul after foul after foul.
I believe there's 8 almost I believe like 10 plus fouls.
It
Just
was
almost in the first half.
yeah, no, it was absolutely unbelievable how many fouls was going on with Mexico. They were just trying to disrupt the play in any way that they could. They did not want Argentina to find their rhythm, and Argentina weren't able to find their rhythm. But there were a couple bright spots. Well, the only bright spot I could think of before Messi was able to score was Di Maria. You have to give credit. Di Maria in both games against Saudi Arabia and now against Mexico, he has done excellent. And this is, a bright spot for this Argentina team because there was doubts about his fitness coming into the World Cup. Well, he's shouted the doubters down because he has played absolutely brilliantly through 2 games, and I expect him to continue to do that. And he's going to have to continue to do that in order for Argentina to go as far as we hope that they will, and I expect that they will. But
Yeah.
cometh the hour, cometh the man. When Argentina needed him the most, Messi comes through once again. And it was looking dire for many points of the game. I was thinking, oh, this isn't looking good. Mexico are going to nick a goal. No. Messi comes through once again. And this is why he's the greatest player of all time. This is why Messi is the greatest player of all time. At certain points in the game, I was questioning what he was doing. He was dropping too far deep. And I was getting a little frustrated. But then out of nowhere, a moment of brilliance. What you expect from the greatest player of all time. He pulls one out of the rabbit's hat. He pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and all of a sudden, 1-0 Argentina. It was a brilliant strike. And once Messi was able to unlock this Mexico defense and get the first goal, Mexico had to come out at least slightly a little bit more. It was pretty much a done deal because Mexico were not creating anything against that Argentina midfield and defense. They couldn't barely string together 3 passes at a time. It just took 1 goal, and you have to give credit to Messi for being able to get that goal because Ochoa, he's a great goalkeeper. And I wouldn't have put my money on him making a shot from that far out against Ochoa, but he did. That's why he's the GOAT. So it's what you come to expect. Now, I want to ask this to you. Was this Argentina performance convincing enough for you to be confident in our prediction and your prediction of them making the final, winning it?
As of right now, I still have them winning it all, obviously, but from this performance, I'm not feeling too good because I think you can't really rely on individual brilliance like this because, obviously Messi can do this, but he's not what he used to be. He can't do this every single game. And I think if Argentina go out really expecting this is okay, Messi will eventually in 90 minutes pull something brilliant out, you're going to lose. You can't win many games. They have to be a cohesive unit. And they still haven't got it. I think a lot of it has come down to just their midfield play has been poor. The connecting the defense to the attack has just been poor. DePaul has been bad, and that's why I feel like Messi's been dropping back way more, just because he can notice. I mean, everybody can notice. You could be blind and you could tell that they just can't connect it no more, and that's something to definitely have to fix. But as of right now, I'm not feeling very well. I think this is a scrappy, ugly game, but realistically, everybody's been playing like this almost this entire World Cup, other than maybe like at Spain, but Spain hasn't played a second game yet. Everybody's been playing very ugly football. Like this makes you hark back to even like the other football when Tom Brady said, "There's been a lot of ugly football." This has been a lot of ugly football. Like no like very cohesive. I feel like there's no runaway team right now. Like it's all kind of everybody's struggling. Everybody's kind of struggling to find their rhythm, but it's still that does make me a little bit more hopeful for Argentina because you're not the only ones that are struggling, but hopefully they could fix it out. I trust this team can, and I think it was a big relief to finally get that goal for Messi and finally start to things start to click. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come going into the game against Poland, which they I'd like them to win because so they could finish top of their group, but they could get with a draw. You just can't lose.
Yeah, no, they just cannot lose to Poland. And, we saw Poland play today. They won against Saudi Arabia, and that's something Argentina couldn't do. But it's still, for me, Poland have not looked extremely convincing. They don't look like an amazing team. I would expect Argentina to be able to win this. And I 100% agree with you. I think I'm still confident in my Argentina prediction, although it was looking dire, after the Saudi Arabia game. They came out and they had a gritty win. And this shows championship pedigree, being able to know a team like Mexico. They were, you knew after 5 minutes that they were parking the bus for the whole game and they were
Oh
just
my
hoping to play
god.
for the 0-0. And it took them, around 60 minutes to be able to finally break the deadlock. But it shows grit, to be able to keep pounding on the door, keep trying, and eventually, when you have Messi, eventually he's going to find a way. And that's what happened. You have to win games like this, and it shows, when you get into the knockout round, when when you need a goal, when things aren't going your way, you need to have performances like this, and this is exactly what Argentina have shown they can do. And if anyone had any doubts about that after losing to Saudi Arabia in the way that they did, I think those doubts have been shut. There's no more doubt, and I think it still hasn't been 100% convincing. It's not like they're playing free flowing Pep Guardiola genius football by any stretch, but it's the World Cup. Teams are coming out. It's quality. Mexico have quality players. This is not an easy game, and to be able to win in the way that they did, you have to give 100% credit to Argentina. And I think that now the relief, like you said, is off their shoulders. They can be more confident. I think they're going into this Poland game extremely confident, and I would expect Messi to be able to continue. I would hope Lautaro Martinez is able to find his form a little bit because they're going to need him. And, hopefully Rodrigo De Paul is able to also find his form. I think,
he really needs to pick up his form. If
that's what I'm
think if DePaul's playing well, this Argentina's team's going to play well just because he's the guy that has to string this all together. He's the guy in the midfield that has to string this together because Messi can't really do that no more. DePaul has to do that. But, we've seen he can do this. He's done this on the highest level. He's done it against Brazil. He's done it on the way to win the Copa America. So hopefully he can shake this bad play off and start really clicking because Argentina need it.
No, they will, and especially come, if they are able to 100% qualify for the knockout round, whether or not they finish second in the group, and they inevitably look like they'll be playing France if they finish second. So this game against Poland is extremely important. Argentina, they need to win against Poland and make sure they come top of the group because you don't want to face France in the round of 16. Not that, I'm not saying they could beat France, but you just don't want to play them yet.
Not yet.
You'd rather, have an easier round of 16 game, obviously. So it's very vital.
Maybe
for them to
back-to-back
beat
rounds
Poland.
of 16s versus France.
And it's not what you want. You don't want to play the world champions, in the round of 16. So this game against Poland is a must win. I expect DePaul to finally, potentially to have a good game. And if he doesn't against Poland, I would expect him to be dropped, to be honest, because they have some decent depth. Paredes didn't even play today, and I think he was the best midfielder on the pitch against Saudi Arabia. I would expect, I think Paredes should still be in the starting lineup, even for the next game.
I don't know what went to that decision.
I don't know. I don't quite understand it. And I can't question Scaloni too much because they were able to win. But I think if I'm Scaloni, I'm putting Paredes back in the starting lineup. And I hope Romero is able to be 100% fit. He came in as a sub. There are a few question marks, but I just inevitably think that they are going to beat Poland. I think it'll be a convincing win, potentially just like this. I think it'll be a 2-0. Maybe Lewandowski is able to nick a goal and it's a 2-1. I don't quite even see that happening. I think this Argentina defense is going to shut the door. I expect a 2-0 comfortable win. Argentina finished top of the group, just like we all predicted. It didn't start the way we all hoped, but it's going to finish the way we expected. I think you can agree with that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, Mexico played poor. Argentina able to get the win. But on to Mexico's rival. In my country,
United States. Yeah, I was born here too, man.
Yeah, but you don't quite like repping them as much as I do, So.
Yeah, probably not as much. Just I just don't follow them as hugely because I'm more in the European football. But with the United States playing England, talking about pretty ugly games, we watched that one together as well. What were your thoughts and what were your takeaways from that England and United States matchup?
Well, I think you can look at this from two perspectives. You can look at it from an English perspective, and you can look at it from an American perspective, and it's completely different.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna touch on the England perspective as well. I think you're gonna hone in on that. I'm gonna go in at it from an American's perspective, and the United States, they played excellently. It was a absolute joy to watch from an American perspective. This was exactly what we needed to see. After that disappointing result, against Wales, where I feel like for the most part we were the better team, and ultimately Wales, they came out in the second half and they dominated us and they nicked a goal, and it was a disappointing 1-1 draw. Coming in, I don't think anyone had too high of expectations of this match because we all thought England was this absolute world beater coming off of a 6-2 win against Iran, and to be honest, even me and you, we both expected England to win this game comfortably. However, that's exactly what didn't happen. It was the exact opposite. From minute one, the United States came out on the front foot. And you have to give 100% credit to the United States midfield, led by Weston McKennie, led by Tyler Adams, and led by Yunus Musa. They absolutely dominated the England midfield. And this was the pivotal portion of the match here. And this is no disrespect to Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice because they're great players. But this midfield three of the United States played better. They just quite simply played better. They dominated the match, and that allowed the United States to control the game. For the most part, England might have had a little bit more possession, but the better chances all came from the United States, and it all came from that midfield. Tyler Adams and Musa and McKennie were able to drive forward, get Timothy Weah, and get Pulisic involved. Ultimately, that's where our chances came from. They came from the midfield pushing out onto the wing and whipping the ball in, and Pulisic, our best chance probably, taking that kind of
Yeah, right off the crossbar.
weird
Yeah.
angled shot, hit the crossbar. You know, it was an ugly game of football, all things considered, but it's the way that the United States needed this game to go in order to get a result like this against England. If England were playing and they're firing on all cylinders, that wasn't going to be the way the United States was going to get a win here. They needed it to be a little scrappy. They needed it to be a midfield contest. And if that was the case, they were going to have a chance to get a result. That's exactly what happened. You have to give 100% credit to Greg Berhalter. I got on him a little bit after the Wales game. He came into this game. He set the team up brilliantly. Perfect lineup. And I expect this lineup to be the one we use next game as well. You have to give credit to him. The United States, they came out and they were the better team. And nobody expected that to be the case, when we were coming into the game. We expected England to dominate. So, as a United States fan, this game didn't have too much impact on us going through to the round of 16 unless we were able to win, because we all knew it was going to come down to the Iran game. And I'm going to get into the Iran game in a second here. But from an English perspective of this game, it was an absolutely pitiable performance. Absolutely disgraceful. It was disgraceful. You have this team. If you look at this lineup front to back, it's a great team. I mean, you got Harry Kane, you got Mason Mount, you got Raheem Sterling, you got Bukayo Saka, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice. Do I need to go on? This team is absolutely loaded. And that was the performance we got. They created absolutely nothing. Their best chance of the whole game came on a cutback to Harry Kane, I think, in the 10th minute. After that, they created pretty much nothing. They didn't deserve to win this game. And to be fair, if anything, they probably deserve to lose the game based on how it all went. And that is an absolute disgrace with this team. And, you have to put, for me, this I can't, obviously, like, you blame the players on the pitch, but I'm not even going to do that. This blame for me, and I'm pretty sure you would agree, all goes on Gareth Southgate. It all goes on Gareth Southgate. Playing this anti-football with this England team is a disgrace. He should have been sacked before the World Cup. It wasn't happened. He should have, to be honest, he should have been sacked after the Euros. Like this England team is too good to be playing such ugly, bad, pathetic football. It is absolutely disgraceful. Gareth Southgate, he should have been sacked yesterday. He should have been sacked last year. He should be sacked tomorrow, today. Get this man out of there. If I'm England, I'm thinking about sacking him now. In the middle of the tournament, it's getting that bad. Obviously, I doubt that's going to happen, but I would consider it. I genuinely would. It is pathetic, and I'm sure you would agree. What are your thoughts on the game?
Well, I got to give all credit to the United States. They played, like you said, they played brilliantly. They played exactly how they needed to because this is what they wanted. They wanted to go in. Obviously, everybody wants to win, but they definitely wanted this game saying, hopefully we can squeeze a draw. And that's what they got. And kudos to them. They deserved it. They probably should have deserved to win the game. But like you said, this was an absolute crime against humanity performance from England. And I'm not even going to really criticize a bunch of the players because, they played poorly, but like you said, it comes down to Gareth Southgate. He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know what he's watching. I don't believe he watches the games. Like, he sits there, but I truly believe he's not watching this game because just everything he does doesn't make sense. You're going into halftime, you're 0-0, and you decide to sub off Jude Bellingham for Jordan Henderson. You need a goal, and you decide, you know what? Let's put in George Henderson. What? You take out Jude Bellingham. You take off a 19-year-old for what? A 30-plus-year-old. You leave Mason Mount. It's just so bad of the selections of the team, and just he has his favorites. It's so clear as day that he prefers Mason Mount over Phil Foden. It's clear as day he has favorites in this team, and it's ridiculous. Look, you fancy Pep Guardiola, yeah? Pep Guardiola, the
Yes.
best manager in the world currently right now. Pep Guardiola has had the chance. He's had Raheem Sterling. He's had Grealish, and he's had Phil Foden. Which one of those players do you think Pep Guardiola likes the most? It's Phil Foden. I don't know what he's done to Gareth Southgate for him just to be in the doghouse, but the fact that you're choosing those other two players over Phil Foden just shows you don't know the game. You don't know what you're doing. Because if I trust the best manager in the world. I trust that he says Phil Foden is better than Raheem Sterling and Jack Grealish. He should be playing. And the fact that he hasn't played a minute in 2 games is disgraceful. It's He should be locked up for this. This is so bad. I don't I
Keep him in Qatar.
like just keep him in like if any English fans defending him, you should be prosecuted as well for treason. This you're giving the most absolute gems of players. You're giving such the golden generation and you're wasting it. You're just throwing it away. Like literally any other team would wish to have these players and you're throwing it all away playing this horrible brand of football. Just this defensive style and it just doesn't make sense. And I scratch my head. I'm like, is this real? Is this an actual guy? And to stack up on it, he goes into the press conference after it. Obviously, England get booed off.
Deservingly so.
They're getting booed. And Gareth Southgate gets asked, so what do you think of the booing? He says, I don't think that was directed toward us. Gareth, who the fuck is that? Who are they booing at? Are they booing at the United States? The
They just played the game of
underdog?
their lives.
Why would the fans boo the underdog who got a favorable result? That literally makes no sense. I don't understand where you even come up with that. Have you watched any sport? I've never seen a sport where the underdog gets a really good performance, maybe not a win, but
And gets booed.
it gets booed. That doesn't make sense. Literally, you watch boxing, you watch anything. The favorite, you watch Floyd Mayweather. Maybe he has a horrible fight and he doesn't win as decisively, or he doesn't win at all. He gets booed. The boo's going to him because he's the favorite. You're the favorite. You should be beating the United States. You are better than the United States in every single position. There's not a position on the field that they are better than you at. And they outplayed you in every single way. That is disgraceful. He should be sacked right now. I've seen enough. I thought the Iran game was, a good signs to come, but that really was just individual player
It's
brilliance.
a fluke.
They're playing in spite of Gareth Southgate. I could bet everything that Gareth Southgate after that performance, they score 6-2. He probably said, I didn't think we could score that many goals. This guy doesn't he doesn't understand that this team is so attackingly gifted and you're still not using every single tool in the box, in your toolbox. Phil Foden should be playing over Mason Mount. He should be playing at least a minute. It doesn't make sense, man.
And that doesn't
And
even begin. It doesn't even begin to touch on the fact that Trent is also in the doghouse, and whether or not you
yeah,
like Trent or not, he should be contributing at some point. It's some
look,
way.
you are literally there 0-0. You need a goal. You should be subbing on Trent and Phil Foden because those are two attacking-minded players. And he doesn't because he just doesn't fancy them. That's inexcusable. It's despicable. He just personally he does not like these guys. So that's why he does not play them. It's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I can't stand for it no more. And there's no England fan in the world that should be still supporting this guy. I don't give a shit that he took you to the Euro final. How did you play in that final? You played horrible. You lost to a team that didn't make the World Cup. I mean,
you had an international trophy right there gifted to you, and you
had it
bottled
right
it. You
there.
bottled it.
It was coming home, and you got your manager set up a game plan for you to get one shot on target in 120 minutes.
I don't even know.
It's horrid. It's horrid. He can't make adjustments, and England are I know I was real high on them, but I don't see a shot they win at all. With it's the same old England. It's like I'm talking about, old school Cowboys, man. It's like it's the same old shit. They don't. They're not. They have not changed at all. They're the same team that we've always thought they were, and it's despicable. I mean, they're wasting a golden generation.
That's what I was going to say. England are wasting a golden, and this is the golden generation for me. I mean, what a group of players England has, and England are wasting this golden generation because of Gareth Southgate, because of one man that they decided to keep in as this manager. It doesn't
Gareth
make any
Southgate.
sense.
Gareth Southgate would not get a job in the Premier League. He wouldn't get a job as an assistant coach in the Premier League. I would doubt that he gets a job in the second division. He is abominable. He does not know what he's watching. Like literally, you could put anybody out there. Like literally, just get someone from the stand. Get one of the commentators or some shit. This
Martin
guy doesn't know
Tyler.
what he's. Martin Tyler, get him out there. It's just despicable, man. It's just a horror to watch. And I think out of all the games that have been played, it's definitely rivaling. At least Argentina had 2 goals. This
Yeah.
game was just a horror to watch. It was just so boring and horrid. And England played into the United States' hands. They got them. United States are leaving that game saying thank you, and now they just got to win against Iran.
Yeah,
But
no, the United States are definitely feeling confident, but it's like I just can't get over the fact that England really think that Gareth Southgate is the one to manage this team. I mean, they have this golden generation, and they've really came to the conclusion after everything that they've said this is the guy. That you
I
you
think
really don't think you could get a better manager. There's so many managers who would love to have this job, and you really sit here and you think, they've probably been in the boardroom saying, oh, are we gonna keep him? And they really think, yes, this is the
the
guy who
the
will
the,
lead
board, the
us.
boardroom's praying that he gets to the quarterfinals just so they get a reason to sign a deal. Look, he got us to a quarterfinal, guys. We
Oh,
had to renew his contract, and it's just like, bro, I will literally
look,
contemplate just not watching England anymore. This is just horrible. If Southgate goes any longer, I hope they get to the round 16 and they get bounced out. Please, football gods, something happen and to kick England out real early. So there's a reason, the undeniable reason that Southgate can't keep this job.
well, look, if Southgate somehow manages to scam his way into keeping this job for any longer after the World Cup, I won't know what to say. It will be the biggest disgrace in footballing history. If the footballing association sits here and says after this World Cup and after what we've all been seeing, that this guy Gareth Southgate deserves to go on for any longer, he should have already been sacked. By the way, if he goes on for any longer, England
He should be
they're never
sacked in this
winning.
tournament. He should be sacked right now after that performance, And it's
They
no disrespect to the United States. I mean, but
played great.
let's not act like the United States aren't like their prayer and they're the highest at the highest ceiling for them is the
Oh,
quarterfinals. This England team,
could win
their
it.
their ceiling is winning it. They are expected to go in and really make a shot to win this. This team isn't getting anywhere near that. I think as of right now, their ceiling is about as high as the United States, man. Like they're looking like a quarterfinal team. And to have the amount of players they do. I mean, if the FA look at this and they say, I think we're playing good enough, then obviously they don't care either. And it's gonna have to take a lot. It's gonna have to take a ginormous blunder because they love this guy. He's a yes man. He says everything they love to hear, you know. But there's a lot of England fans that are fed up with this, and they are the loudest. They are the rowdiest. Not always they're very crude, but they. I mean, they don't go far in this tournament. I wouldn't want to be the FA having to deal with them.
The only reason why England have a prayer in making the quarterfinals is because they're going to be playing the runner-up of Group A, and it looks like that is either going to be Senegal or Ecuador. And no disrespect to either of those teams, but Senegal is without their best player, and Ecuador they're decent, but they're nowhere. They're about on the same level as the United States. So they might be able to make the quarterfinals, because they should. And I mean, if they play like this, they might not, but they should win that game. But as soon as England plays a top side, a Spain, a France, a Brazil, anybody that has any bit of quality, real quality, they're getting bounced. It will be an
Absolutely.
absolute horror show
They
to watch.
they play Brazil, they're getting spanked. They're
Oh
getting
my
they're
god.
getting killed. They're getting killed if
And
they
that's
play
and that's
Brazil.
just, if they play any team that is has anything have any bit of quality, they will get absolute spanked. And it's gonna be funny to watch in some ways, but also sad to watch because this team is too good to be losing to some of these teams, that I'm thinking they could lose to in the knockout round.
Yeah,
They could be they should be making the final, and I'm thinking Spain will knock this team out if they play.
oh, I mean, well, still, we'll have to see, but I mean, Spain, they look very good.
Yeah,
But
but yeah, wait, hold on. Before we move on to the next one, I just wanted to get your opinion because
mhm,
looking forward to the United States, look, England, regardless of how bad they've been, they're gonna move on to the next round. But the United States,
yeah,
it all comes down to this, and obviously the United States, their expectations isn't to go to the final or anything like that, but you'd like for them
mhm.
to make it out of the group. It would be a good achievement for this young group of players. One of the youngest squads in the World Cup. But it
Yeah, I
all
think
comes
they're the
down
second youngest.
pretty much, yeah. It all comes down to this one crucial game against Iran. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask this to you, and then I'll give my thoughts. Will the United States beat Iran and make the round of 16 of the World Cup?
I it's tough. It's tough, but I'm gonna have to say United States take it in a 1-0 win against Iran. Iran aren't bad. They're pretty good. They beat Wales 2-0, which United States struggled to do. United States dominated Wales, but they couldn't find that finishing blow. They gave up a bad pen. But against Iran, United States have that momentum, and Iran do have a bit of momentum as well. Scoring two past Wales, but I'm gonna edge it out for the United States to win a close game, and because they have to win, they can't draw.
Yeah,
It's a must win. This is the most must win to the highest extent because we said Argentina was a must win. Realistically, yeah, but they could have drawn and won and still went through. This one, United States can't draw. If they draw, they're out. This is a must win. High pressure, and this is going to be the most pressure that probably these young players have ever had in their lives. So, especially in against a team like Iran, they have to perform, and I think they'll be able to do it.
now, I mean, it's going to be a tough game, but I 100% agree. I said coming into the tournament that Iran was a very, very difficult opponent. I said that, going into their game against England, I expected them to give England a tough shout. It just didn't quite fall their way because they gave up an early goal and they couldn't quite execute their style of football that they wanted to. England ended up putting six past them. Iran is not 4 goals worse than England. Definitely not, especially based on how England have been playing now. They're just not.
Yeah,
It was just a little bit of a fluke result, in my opinion. But with that being said, the United States is coming off of a draw against England that is going to give them confidence. It's going to give them momentum. And I 100% expect them to take it against Iran. I think that from the minute one, they're going to come out on the front foot. And I think they're going to hope to get an early goal. Even if they don't, I expect USA to be able to win this game 2-0, in my opinion. I think Iran are obviously going to be, going for this game as well. They know that they need a result. I think it's going to create open spaces. And ultimately, Iran's defense is not quite as good as England's. So I think there are going to be more holes. There's going to be more space. And this game for me comes down to the midfield. And I think that the United States has an excellent midfield. Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, and McKennie. Obviously, I hope that McKennie and Musa are 100% fit. I think they will be. I think that the United States will be able to dominate the midfield again, like they did against England. And if they're able to do that, they're going to win this game. They're going to create enough chances because Pulisic and Weah have been playing great this tournament. And ultimately, it's going to just come down to can the United States get the finishing touch because they're creating some chances, but it looks like the main weakness is that number 9 position. I don't think it's going to quite come down to the number 9. I think that they're going to be able to find a way and nick a goal, maybe 2, and come out of this on top. I 100% expect it to happen. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be a failure, in my opinion, because look, if you told that the United States camp, you told the fans, if you told them it was going to come down to a winner take all pretty much game against Iran, they're taking that. You're signing the dotted line and you're saying, I'm taking that all day. And this is what it's come down to. And the United States is a better team. They are a better team. So you expect them to win as the better team. If they don't, it will be a disappointment. But all things considered, the United States they've done well this tournament. They've proven themselves. But if you really want to prove yourself, you have to win this game. The United States teams of old generations with Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey, they made the round of 16. That's what they did. They almost won a couple times. Remember the Belgium game. If you really want to cement yourself in this generation going forward for the United States and inspire, a lot of the youth in the United States, you have to win this game against Iran and make the round of 16. It is a must for the culture of soccer, and it is extremely important. And I expect them to be able to do it. If they don't, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. But
Absolutely.
I've been in very confident, ever since the England result that we will do it. I've been telling you for a couple of days now. So
Yeah. I agree. I think this game is set up for them to do well, and I think they'll advance.
yeah, no, yeah, I think they will as well, and it will be credit to them if they are able to do that. Because they deserve it based on what I've seen. They played two good games, and hopefully they play a third. They're going to need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, going into the next game that we had
The champs.
the privilege of watching, France versus Denmark, the champs coming out and finally breaking the curse. They
Yeah,
they did
officially.
it. They officially broke the group stage curse of the champion. So I wanted to get your thoughts and what was your thoughts and opinions on that game?
Well, I said coming into the match that I needed to see this France team perform against Denmark. I said it because after I saw that Australia game, I said, okay, it was a convincing win. How are you going to do against a team that I consider to be pretty damn good in Denmark? And
A dark horse, yeah.
it wasn't the prettiest game by any stretch of the imagination, but they were able to win. And that shows to me that they still have that championship mentality. They still have the quality led by Didier Deschamps. You know that they're going to play good football. You know that they have good talent all across the pitch. It's just I wanted to see how they do against another quality opposition. And to be fair, they did their job. It came down to moments of brilliance. Once again, Denmark, they weren't an easy team to break down. And that's a common theme throughout this World Cup. Moments of brilliance. When you've got arguably the best player in this World Cup, Kylian Mbappe, you're always going to have those moments of brilliance sometimes go your way. And that's what it came down to. Mbappe, we saw the first goal. Maybe it wasn't the prettiest, but he puts himself in a great position and he scored. And then, Christensen fights back. He gets one. And then, look, 86th minute, Mbappe gets to the end of a cross from Griezmann. He finds a way to get it in the net, pretty much with his hip. I mean, you don't see hip goals too often, but Mbappe puts himself in the right place in the right time. He's able to score. Mbappe, for me, has sealed himself. Look, Messi is doing great things, but he's sealed himself as the star of this World Cup. He is when the lights are brightest, he comes to play. When France needs him the most, and they needed him, he came to play. Mbappe, he did his thing, and you have to give credit to the whole rest of this team. Tchouameni, he's played two excellent games. I criticized him. Rabiot, he's played great.
Yeah.
Obviously Griezmann, he missed a good chance, but he still had a good game. He got an assist. Dembele, he's played great through two games. Theo Hernandez and the rest of this defense. France are looking like a well-oiled machine, just like we kind of expected. I think given these two results, and obviously they are the first team to make the round of 16 officially, they're looking like favorites for me. There's obviously a couple other teams in there, but it's looking like France are definitely up there as one of the favorites to win the tournament. And, a lot of people expected that, but now it's cemented for me. You don't want to play France. And let's just be honest, in the round of 16 or in the knockouts at any point, you don't want to face this French team because they are looking like a well-oiled machine. And they basically shut down Denmark for the most part. They created, minuscule chances and, they got one goal. But when you've got Kylian Mbappe and you've got this French attack, it's going to be a tough day. And that's what it was.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you said. France played well. They looked vulnerable at points, but like you said, it came down to individual brilliance. And I think Mbappe has cemented himself as right now the best player in the world. He's just so electrifying. This guy is must see. He's one of the quickest players I've ever seen in my life. And he's just so electric and he's up for it. He's the most game player on every pitch he goes on, because there's a little bit of a different feeling when he plays for France, because he knows that he's the guy that this country goes as far as Kylian Mbappe takes it. And right now they're looking great. And I think the players are playing well. Like Tushmani is playing very well. Theo Hernandez is playing well, and it's what France wanted to see. They made first team to make the next round, and yeah, like you said, I wouldn't want to play them. I wouldn't want to play them. I'd hope that someone else is able to knock them off, but we can't act like this team has not underperformed like in the Euros where they went out fairly early, which I thought they'd win, but they're looking well. If we're talking about real early favorites, yeah, they're probably tied right now with Spain, but Spain hasn't played that second game. So we will see. But definitely impressed by France because Denmark has a lot of people were saying Denmark were a dark horse for
Hmm.
this one, and other than the Christensen goal, France looked like they didn't have really clicking yet, but when it was clicking, they didn't really have much of a problem with Denmark. So it's going to be interesting to see how they take this further on into the tournament. But great win for France, and not really much else I can say about it. I mean, great
Yeah,
performance.
it's I 100% agree with what you said. This team is going to go as far as Mbappe takes them, and Mbappe, I agree. He's cemented himself as that guy at the World Cup at the moment. And we heard the commentator mention this, and I thought it was an interesting point. When the World Cup comes around, I think the World Cup is Mbappe's tournament. It feels like, Ronaldo's got the Champions League, and Mbappe seems to have the World Cup. He comes to play, he comes alive in a way that you don't see, necessarily every time for PSG. Especially in big games. But in those big games for France, he comes and he always turns up. And this was just a prime example when they needed them the most. He came through, and you have to give credit to Mbappe for that. I think you know it goes back to what he said. He said in the middle of the season he prefers playing on the wing. On France,
Yeah,
he gets to play on the wing, and
you have to play on the wing.
you see how good he is playing when he gets to play where he prefers. He absolutely terrorizes the fullbacks. He makes them cry. If I'm a fullback and I look across and I see I have to guard Kylian Mbappe, I might as well just start crying. It's over for me.
I
I'm
I
getting
saw a
cooked.
clip. Yeah, I saw a clip of someone recording on the sideline that Mbappe was like literally running routes on
I I,
fullbacks
I saw
like a
that.
wide receiver, and I
Yeah,
was like, God, Jesus, man, this just isn't fair because he's so fast.
he's
He's
just
he's
so
so
fast,
electric, so quick.
and his
He's
finishing
making
is
this
great.
poor he's poor yeah, he's making this poor guy not know where he is, and that's just the brilliance of Mbappe. It's what he's campaigned for. He likes playing with a true center forward like Giroud, being able to play off that center forward. He doesn't like being in the middle because that's not what he does. It's harder to run through two center backs, but when he's going one on one all the time, he's just almost unstoppable. Just the blend of skill, speed, and finishing is you just can't do nothing with it. It's kind of like you just hope he misses. You hope he miss.
Yeah, literally, you just hope he misses, and he just didn't miss. Today he was able to get on the end
He
of
played
the
well.
winning goal, and he played extremely well. I want to pose this question to you, because you said it's looking like they are, the early favorites potentially at this very moment. Obviously we both predicted Argentina, but do you think France will go back to back?
From right now, I think it's still a little too early to say. You know, I think right now they're the favorites to do it. If we're talking about really early favorites, and yeah, I would say they have just nudged out Argentina for me as they're gonna win. But it's football. Things. I mean, next week we could be having a completely different conversation. So as of right now, I'll say yeah, France are definitely the team to beat, but things could change, and we'll have to see. But they're playing well. The French should be very happy with the results that they gotten.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna go perfect through this group. I doubt they lose
I mean, they play
a game in the
Tunisia
group.
next game,
Yeah, they
so
play Tunisia. I doubt they lose to Tunisia. But yeah,
I bet the house on
I
them,
would
though.
have to say yes. But well, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Brazil in the overall bigger picture of this tournament?
Brazil?
No, did I say Brazil? I meant France.
Yeah.
My bad.
Brazil, we'll get into Brazil in a second here, but,
The second, yeah.
uh, France, I think that they have they're looking like they are primed to be potentially the first team since Brazil back in the day with Pele to go back to back. I think if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be them because they've got the best player in the tournament. It's crazy to say that because Messi and Ronaldo are both here, but it's officially a dawn of a new era. It's the Mbappe era. And when you have the best player at the tournament, you're always going to have a chance. And when you have surrounded them with such great players, a great defense, a good goalkeeper, a new Lloris, midfield that for me had question marks, but they've proven themselves as good enough, so far with Tchouameni and Rabiot. And when you've got a dynamic winger, such as Dembele next to him, and then Griezmann, who is turning back the clock. He's looking like a little bit of
Yeah,
the
it
old
looks good.
Griezmann. He's flashes of the old Griezmann here. And then obviously Olivier Giroud, he didn't have the best game, but it's you don't need Giroud to be that guy. You just need him to finish the chances when he gets them, and that's what you can expect from Giroud. So it's looking like France for me. I picked Argentina, but if I had to give a favorite right now, I 100% agree. France are my favorite from this moment because of how dominant they've looked, and they look like a well-oiled machine. And I don't see many teams being able to stop this French attack at the moment. And any fullback that has to face Mbappe, it's going to be night night. And let's just say hypothetically speaking, they play Brazil, whether it's in a semifinal, a final, whatever. We've spoken on this before. Brazil's main weakness is the fullback position. If it's Brazil
Yeah.
versus France, Mbappe is going to run riot. He's going to
Yeah,
run riot.
Danilo's not doing that. Yeah, Danilo's
Danilo
not
is not
doing
look.
anything.
Danilo is not stopping Kylian Mbappe in any way, shape, or form. He'll be lucky to stop him a couple times. He's absolutely going to run circles around him. So it depends. Obviously matchups are matchups, and if you scheme it right, it's football. At the end of the day, anything can happen. But right now, I 100% agree with you. France are looking like the favorites for me, and I wasn't as high as France. I wasn't as high on France as you were coming into the tournament because I had questions, and my questions have been answered by these two performances. So I'm with you. I think France are looking like the favorites.
Yeah, and I feel like that carries a little bit more weight, especially going to the next topic when we talk about Brazil and Serbia. That
Yep.
you know Brazil, fully going into it, Brazil and Serbia. Brazil played fairly well. I mean, Serbia is no slouch. Serbia is a good team,
Hmm.
and Brazil were able to get it done. Two great goals from Richarlison. One goal of the tournament right now.
Yeah,
Absolute
definitely.
worldy. And
He gained 4 million
I
followers.
he gained 4 million followers from that game. That's the World Cup. But I didn't think Richarlison even had that in him. I mean, I saw him in the starting lineup. I was like, you bench Gabriel Jesus for Richarlison? Really? Like a guy that can't get a goal for Spurs in the Premier League? Really? And then he does that. And he plays like R9 for the country. I mean, we're Spurs fans are watching this and you're like, where is this guy at? We don't have this guy. This is not the one that plays for us. But I mean, Brazil just play like how Brazil do. They play very pretty football. Casemiro played very well. I mean, Vinny didn't play very well, but Neymar did his thing. But Jesus, I've never seen a player that gets more fouled than Neymar. It's just I don't understand. I think he tied his record for the most fouls he's got in a single game. Just these Serbian players, they don't know what to do with them. They just Neighbor's got the ball, foul him. It's like Jesus, and every time you see it, and a lot of the times, Neymar is kind of going with it, going into the tackle, but those things stack up. You know, hitting the ground that many times, and you ended up seeing that one of the fouls ended up taking him out. His foot looked like a balloon. It was badly swollen, but nothing was torn, nothing was
Thank God.
nothing looked too ugly. Nothing wasn't that bad. And I think they're resting him until the round of 16. And I don't think they really need Neymar to make it out the group. I think
No,
they'll be
no.
fine. I doubt Vinicius is going to play as bad as he did that game, but I think Brazil they came out and they didn't blow me away, but they did what they had to do against a pretty solid Serbia team.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You have to give credit to the Serbia team because they're no pushover. I picked them to finish second in the group. I still stand by that based on what I
Yeah.
saw. They look like a very, very cohesive unit, a well put together team. They play, well as a unit, and they have, Dusan Tadic, they have Mitrovic, They have Milinkovic-Savic. They have some quality players, and obviously Brazil are still the better team, and that's why for the most part they dominated this match. But you have to give credit to Serbia because it took them 60 minutes for them to finally get that goal. And before
Yeah.
Richarlison bags the first goal, you're over here saying you're like, well, I don't know about Brazil, man. I mean, Serbia, they're not doing too bad here. Brazil, they're not quite silencing any critics, by any stretch. But Richarlison gets that goal, and then obviously he gets that worldy. What a goal it was. And now we're sitting here and we're saying, Brazil, they did what they needed to do. And I 100% agree with that. It wasn't the prettiest thing in the world. It wasn't the best performance in the world, but they got done what they needed to get done. And like we've seen
Yeah.
throughout this World Cup, sometimes you don't need to play the prettiest football. It doesn't need to be the best game. You just need to get the 3 points. And that's what Brazil did. You have to give them credit. I think obviously it's a huge concern, this Neymar injury. They're
Hmm.
saying he's going to be okay for the round of 16, but with the ankle, and it's something Neymar has dealt with in the past, it's never quite as clear cut as that. So you hope that in the big picture, he's going to be okay. Because in the short term, look, Brazil will still win this group even without Neymar, but they will not win the World Cup without Neymar. And you
Yeah.
want to get
No.
him back as soon as possible, especially for the round of 16. But at the bare minimum, you need him back by the quarterfinals because that's probably when things start to get more serious and you're gonna really start playing some top teams. And if you're playing a top side, you're gonna need Neymar out there because he is the talisman for this team. He's the guy.
He's
Players
the
are
captain.
Players are circling Neymar and saying, "We got to stop this guy," and then we can try to stop the rest of this Brazilian team because it is loaded. But we got to stop Neymar, and that's what we saw from Serbia. That's why they continuously foul him. And I'll get you. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, but for me personally, I understand to gamesmanship and if it's a part of the game to a certain extent, but I just find it disgraceful in a way that players target Neymar and they just foul him so much. It's similar. You see it to all of these dribblers, the guys that people they play beautiful football and they just get hacked and they get fouled for doing it. And I just don't quite like that because players like Neymar are players that make you want to watch this beautiful game that we love watching. And they just get absolutely killed in these games for playing the way that they do. And I understand, no one likes to get nutmegged and no one likes to, be beaten on the dribble. But I think referees need to do something and they need to start holding these other teams more accountable by maybe booking them more or something when they're just continuously going after one guy. And it was clear as day that Serbia is just going after Neymar. And as soon as he gets the ball, foul him. That's just the only way they think they can stop him.
Yeah.
I understand it from a certain, I understand it from the Serbian perspective, but I just think that they need to do a little bit better job of protecting these players because you don't want a guy like Neymar missing the games in the World Cup. You want him on the pitch.
Yeah. It's one of those things to where it's just how Neymar's play style is. He invites a lot of tackles that he usually holds the ball and waits for the defender to make a move to then make his move. And after Neymar's made his move and he's beaten his guy, they're usually already they're hacking him. They're giving him some type of kick because Neymar will go down to it. But it's just the consistency of it. It's almost every single play that's happened to him. And it doesn't really happen to many other players because there's not a lot of players that play like Neymar. Like I watch a lot of Vinicius. Vinicius relies a lot on his pace. He's gonna try and get around you. He's gonna try and get his pace to just burst past you. But that's not how Neymar plays. Neymar tries to just dance his way through defenders. And realistically, in the game how it is now, you can't do that anymore. You can't. Players are not going to allow you. It's like a thing that goes on set. It's like even in other sports, it's like if a player gets you, you got no matter what, you got to foul him. You got to stop him because it's almost like a bit of a disrespect. I mean, you get nutmegged and you just immediately foul because it's just like shit. I'm not going to let you get me with that. But it's just I don't know what they could do to kind of stop that. The only thing I can really think of is like booking them. I mean, because yellow cards in the World Cup are not good. You get two, you're banned for one game. So I think refs gotta start trying to protect, especially players like Neymar, that they know that they invite a lot of challenges, and players are gonna play into that. And you booking a couple, they're gonna hold off. They're gonna start
Yeah.
being a little bit more cautious. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see because just But, even before halftime, he's already getting up to he's already been fouled 5 times. And I already had a pretty bad feeling that this isn't going well. It only takes one poor foul to get a bad nick. And that's what happened. Neymar got nicked. And hopefully, he comes back round of 16 and he's perfectly fine and he stays good through the entire tournament. I want to see this Brazil team at full strength. I don't want
Yeah.
to, I don't, it's just like, I don't, as much as, I didn't pick them to win. I don't want them to win, but I still want them to be beaten at full strength. I want there to be, like, realistically, no, oh, we didn't have Neymar, so we didn't win. So, I mean,
Yeah, I
hopefully you
100%
get
agree.
back.
And I
Yeah.
know I hope that the doctors are right and that it's not the most serious type of ankle injury because those high ankle sprains. You can say that you're going to be back in 2 games, but that's just not realistic. And they're saying
Uh,
it's more of a lesser degree. So hopefully they're 100% right on that. But it's one of those things because they're not protecting the players properly. Whoever Brazil does play in the round of 16, if Neymar is coming out and it's his first game back, they're targeting that ankle. They're saying, well, we already know that's slightly injured. It might not be badly injured, but it's still probably slightly banged up at that point. Players they're gonna be going after him because they're not properly protecting him. And I'm not saying you need to change the rule book because of Neymar and how he plays, but I just don't quite like seeing, dribbling guys like that just get hacked. You saw it similarly to like Wales when the United States played Wales. It was just hack a Pulisic. Every time he got the ball, you just tack him to, bring him down. And that's, when Neymar he does that, he gets it every game. Pulisic he's got to
yeah.
get hacked down every game. Every game Neymar plays, whether it's at the club level or now international, which is even more of a physical game. International football is so much more physical than the club level. Neymar just gets absolutely beaten to a pulp every game. I'm surprised he doesn't get more injuries than he does. I mean, obviously he's not the most healthy player always, but this guy could be
Yeah.
getting injured every game with some of these tackles, man. And you just don't want to see a player as great as Neymar injured, especially at the World Cup. This only comes around every 4 years, and this might be his last. He's saying so. I want to see Neymar
Yeah.
playing, and I want to see this Brazil team at full strength. I'm hoping that he's going to be back 100%. But all things considered, even without Neymar, a dominant win. It's what we needed to see from Brazil, but you know we expected this. So the big true tests they're still to come for Brazil. It's going to come in the quarterfinals. It's going to come in the semifinals. It's going to come in the round of 16. Are they able to beat these teams? Are they able to do it in the knockout rounds? It remains to be seen. But you got to tip your cap to Brazil. They did what they needed to do.
Absolutely.
Moving forward into another game that has a phenomenal player, Ronaldo in Portugal.
The man, the
Uh,
guy.
yeah, that guy Ronaldo, obviously playing against Ghana. Portugal able to come out on top with a 3-2 win. I'll go ahead and pass this one off to you. Your initial thoughts on Portugal able to get this win?
I think it was a very very entertaining game. Up until things started to hit the fan. Portugal, they came out. I think it being their first game, that both teams kind of feeling each other out, seeing what works, what didn't work, and I think the lineup, other than Rafael Leao not starting, I think gotta start Rafael Leao. That's a no brainer.
Yeah,
But
he proved it
that
in this game.
yeah, I think in attack, I think there was never a question about Portugal's attack. That it's dynamic, it's great. I mean, Ronaldo can draw fouls, and there's just a lot of attention goes around Ronaldo, and it opens up for a Bruno, for a Bernardo Silva, for what soon to be subbed on Rafael Leao. Like, this team is very dynamic in attack, and Ghana aren't they're no pushovers. They're a pretty well versed side. They're solid defensively, and they gave Portugal a little scare because Portugal score, and then I believe what Ghana
Andre Ayew.
tie. Yeah, yeah. They're able to then Ghana able to answer back, and then Portugal take almost, I thought, was a grip of the game, going 3-1, and then Ghana score again at the 88th minute, and then right at the death, at the 95th minute, it look I saw the unthinkable. Hit what was it? He just got converted from Spanish to what was his name? What's the striker's name? What's the striker's name? I had
For
him.
who?
Inaki Williams. Inaki
Oh yeah,
Williams.
Iñaki Williams.
Rocky Williams stays behind the goalkeeper, waits for him to drop the ball, and then goes in, but just slips. He just slips and can't finish it to seal the tie. But I think it wasn't very deserved. But Portugal got the win. I think they deserved the win, and it was a bit of a scare. But this Portugal team is a bit shaky though on defense. As I thought they'd be a lot more solid. Cancelo played horrible. He played absolutely abominable. He was getting beat on the dribble and just absolutely tore apart. And that's not what I expected from Cancelo. I mean, Cancelo's one of the best backs
Yeah,
in the world. He had a bad game. Diaz, he didn't play horrible, but he's kind of just there. And what was his other? Was it Danilo? Was his? I forget the other
yeah,
center back's
Danilo
name.
Pereira, yeah.
Danilo Pereira,
He doesn't even play
absolute
center
mare.
back.
Yeah, he doesn't even play center back. He's a midfielder, but I guess they forced him at center back. And he basically caused the goal slipped under his feet for the first goal. I don't know how that happens, but this Portugal defense is a bit shaky, and I don't trust the coach enough. I think that's where Portugal's gonna get let down. They don't have that coach that can really unlock this team's full potential. I mean, Jao Felix played well. You know, they have so many weapons. It's almost a bit like England. They have a lot of weapons, but just it comes down to their play style and their team selection that it's holding them back a bit. Hopefully, Rafael Lau made a statement to where you got to play me. I mean, you have to play me because he had a chance to score two in this one. He scored one, but he had a chance to get more. And if you give him a full 90 minutes, I think he could do a lot for this Portugal team. So, I mean, I was I was still somewhat impressed, but I think they left a little bit to be desired.
That's exactly the phrase that I would use to describe this Portugal performance. I said it in our pre-tournament analysis of Portugal. They have a great squad, but I just don't know if I trust Fernando Santos to get the full potential out of the squad. And I think we've seen flashes now after this Ghana game of that becoming true. Obviously they got the win at the end of the day, so you have to tip your cap and yeah, give them credit where it's due. However, like you said, Cancelo didn't have the best performance. Basically, this whole back line didn't do great by any stretch of the imagination. Bruno, he had a great game. He pulls out 2 assists. Joao Felix also had a great game. Ronaldo, he scored the pen, but it wasn't a convincing performance like I expected. However, I think Ronaldo was knocking off a little bit of the rust. He hasn't been playing as much for Manchester United. Obviously, now he doesn't even play for them anymore. But I think he was knocking off a bit of rust. I would expect him to play better. You'd hope so. But I think I 100% agree. Rafael Leao must be starting in this team. If he doesn't start, it's an absolute disgrace. He has put on a show, obviously, for AC Milan. He led them to the title last season. He's continued up his good play this season. And he came onto the pitch and he changed the game. He showed just how dynamic of a player he is. He comes on and he scores pretty much immediately.
Well,
And,
yeah, it was a great finish as well. Just absolutely
exactly.
whipped it.
The keeper pretty much had no chance. He looked extremely confident. He didn't look like the moment was too big for him. Portugal, they were up at the point, but Ghana were still in the game and fighting. And Rafael Leao comes on, and this is his first World Cup. And for some players, they could bottle that chance. Rafael Leao, cool as ice. He's smiling as he puts it away because he knows he's scoring. It was a clinical finish, and he needs to be finding a way into the starting 11. There's absolutely no reason for him not to be in the starting 11. I have to give credit to Joao Felix. I wasn't expecting him to play as good as he was because, ever since he's went to
Yeah,
Atletico Madrid, his career has kind of fallen off. He was the wonder kid, went to Atletico. Was a wrong decision in my opinion, but that's
yeah.
neither
I
here nor
think
there.
that more has to come down to how Atletico play. But Joao Felix had just how he plays. He's such a dynamic player.
No, yeah, and he was a great player. He was the better out of him and Ronaldo in this game. I mean, Ronaldo's got the pen,
Yeah, I
but
mean he's probably the.
he was the better of the two. And this was a good Portugal performance, but it wasn't the best Portugal performance. Bernardo Silva, he had a decent game, but he didn't play as good as I know he is. The defense was weak in my opinion. It didn't play as good as I know that they can play. I think that they got the win, so you have to give them credit. But I think, like you said, there is a little bit to be left. It was a little bit to be desired for this Portugal performance, and you would hope, and they're going to need to make up for that when they play a quality team like Uruguay. And if they want to win this group, which they're going to want to win this group because you don't want to be playing Brazil in the round of
Yeah,
16. You're going to want to win this group, and they play Uruguay next, I believe. That's a must-win game. They have to win. They have to at least
have
get a
to.
draw. Um, and if Portugal play like they did against Ghana, it's going to be, I'm not going to say they can't win because Uruguay didn't look the best, in their game against South Korea, but they need to step it up and they need to play a little bit better. And I just don't know. And I said this in my pre-tournament analysis. I just don't know if I trust Fernando Santos to get the most out of this Portuguese team. And to be honest, because they won, I don't know if too much is going to change. And that leaves me a little bit concerned about this Portuguese team because I think if they don't make a change, like bringing in Rafael Leao into the starting lineup and maybe switching up the defense, I don't know, man. I think Uruguay might be able to get a favorable result out of that game because Santos is not going to change the things that I think need to be changed. It's going to be remain to be seen, but it's going to be interesting because that is going to be a blockbuster game, a must-see TV.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good game. I have a
Uh,
really good game.
you would expect, for me, we both picked Portugal to win the group, so I think we're both expecting Portugal to win. But it's there. We know Uruguay are not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I think if Uruguay had a little bit of better performance than I thought they would, I was still dicey. I mean, I going into this group, I was like, I picked Portugal, but Uruguay, they have some key, really good players, like basically led by Fede Valverde. But I think Darwin Nunez is still trying to find his feet a little bit, and I mean, Suarez washed. I mean, Luis Suarez is washed. I don't even know how he's out there anymore. Cavani washed. That's the only I think thing. It's basically Nunez or bust. And Nunez hasn't been the greatest form. He's been a form recently, but I don't think that's enough to compare to the firepower that Portugal have.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Rotating between Suarez starting and then Cavani coming off the bench it's not the most convincing. They have
Yeah,
quality, and if they get a chance in front of goal, you expect them to finish because they have that experience. And we know how clinical these guys were in their prime. But the problem is, they're just not quite at that
they
level
can't get to
anymore.
those spots anymore. They
They
can't really
can't get
get.
to
They
these
can't really
spots.
get there.
It's one of those things. Uruguay, they're gonna need to create some more. They're gonna need to find a way, and it's unfortunate because, in my opinion, this manager for Uruguay, Diego Alonso, he needs to make some better subs. In my opinion, and I might be a little biased here as an Orlando City fan, but
No, God.
Facundo Torres needed to find a way into this match against
No,
South Korea,
Torres.
and he needs to find a way to get onto this pitch against Portugal because I think he offers something that Uruguay don't have. That is a dynamic dribbler. He reminds me a little bit of Neymar, not in quality, but in terms of the way that he's able to dribble and
What?
attack players. No.
Reminds you of Neymar.
Because
Okay.
of the way he attacks players and he wants to,
Okay.
dribble and get at the fullbacks. And that's something Uruguay
Orlando
does not
City have
have.
Neymar.
No. Look,
Orlando City have Neymar.
is Darwin Nunez gonna run at your fullback and take him on the dribble? It's not happening. Suarez is not doing that anymore. And to be
God
fair,
no.
Facundo Palestri, who started the match, he ain't getting it done either. Get
He's not getting it done.
get Facundo Torres in the game, and I think that will give Uruguay something that they don't have right now. Valverde can't do it all. He can't
Yeah,
play
no.
midfield. He can't play wing. He can't play right back. He can't play everything for this team. He needs a little bit of help. And, that's basically my biggest storyline about Uruguay. And if they don't find some more attacking prowess, I don't see a way that they're able to beat Portugal because their strengths, look, Portugal's weakness is looking like their defense, but Uruguay's weakness is looking like their attack. So it's going to be, and I trust Portugal's defense more than I do Uruguay's attack at the moment. So that's why I'm
Yeah,
going to leave
because
Portugal.
I think Portugal have the better issue. I think Uruguay just don't have the personnel.
Yeah,
Portugal have the personnel. They just played poorly. Like
exactly.
Cancelo is probably not going to play that bad again.
I doubt it.
Diaz played well. I think Danilo, if you're going to play him there, I think you could hide him. You could hide him in that defense. And I always forget his name. What's the left back for Paris Saint-Germain, the Portuguese
Nuno
one?
Mendes.
Nuno Mendes. Hopefully he's come back. I think it said he was a little sick. But,
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, that back four, that's a pretty good back four. other than I think it's good enough to hide Danilo.
To
But
be, to be honest, I'm putting Pepe in over Danilo. Give me Pepe.
oh god, Pepe
Give me
Pepe's
Pepe.
almost 40. Okay,
Give
God no,
give
Pepe's
give me Pepe.
you want you want some flashback shit? Pepe versus Suarez. I mean, damn, that's some
But
flashback
hey,
shit.
hey, at least it'll be entertaining to watch. Those two,
Oh
back
god,
in
to
back in their
have them
prime,
fight.
back in their
Yeah.
prime. I mean, they were feisty.
Oh god. Yeah. But no, I think if the other guys step up, they'll be good enough just to hide Danilo because I mean, there's not much you can do. You don't really have another better center back other than Pepe.
Bro,
But
I'm trusting them.
I'm not trusting Pepe to have the pace to deal with Nunes, bro. I don't think
He
he's
doesn't
gonna
have to. He
keep
has
up
to
with
deal with
Nunes.
Suarez.
Oh god. Well, that's gonna let like watching your grandparents fight at the barbecue, man. It's like
That's
watching the
that's
two old
good.
people duke it out. But yeah, and for as far as Uruguay, I would try and play Valverde a bit more, in the attacking sense. I would play him a little bit more on the wing. Just have,
Yeah.
have Nunes on one side and Valverde on the other one, and just try and see if they can feed something to, basically the wheelchair-ridden Suarez. I mean, just pass something, give him a tap in, get him in
Hey.
a proper
Yeah.
position.
Exactly.
He'll take it. And I think that's the change I would make because I think Valverde has developed that game to where he can the transition into the opposition box is pretty elite. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very fast. He's a very fast player, and he's
He's got a motor.
developed a shot that's pretty good. Like he could score from outside the box. He's
Yeah.
got a rocket for a leg, and we saw it. I mean, he banged it off the bar
100%.
from distance. But I got Portugal winning. Uruguay have a good shot, but I think it's going to be it's either going to be a very close 1-1 or it's going to be a straight shootout because I mean if Ghana's able to get that many goals on them, I'm gonna probably have to cut it close. I'm gonna say 2-1 Portugal.
Yeah. If I have to put a score on it, give me
Portugal
me
is not keeping a clean sheet. There's no way.
yeah, no,
So
give me
they're
3
giving
three
one up.
one Portugal, 3-1 Portugal.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think I think it'll be one. I think it'll be one of those things. I think Portugal are going to be up late, like 2-1, and then they're Uruguay are going to go for the goal, and then they'll get hit on the counter
We're gonna get
3-1.
one. Yeah.
Ronaldo is going to get a tap in probably at the death.
Oh my God, he's gonna get a tap in. We're gonna have to see. He's gotta basically make a statement for the next club to get him. He
Yeah,
hasn't played a
yeah,
lot, so he's gonna have to show the other club something to show that why you should get him.
yeah, 100%. But
But I think yeah, I think that for all the games, the major game that's wraps it up for all of them. I think we touch
yeah,
upon all the
I would love,
key
you know,
matchups.
I know obviously we haven't quite, because of the way we've been able to record, we haven't quite been able to touch on the brilliance of Spain and the poorness of Germany. But we will get onto that because I think, we will have another episode coming sometime during this week, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to touch on, hopefully this brilliant match tomorrow between Spain and Germany. I'm excited for it. Germany looking like they could be going out, so I can't wait to talk about that in a couple of days or whenever we do the next
Hmm.
episode. But without further ado, it is time to move on from the brilliance of the beautiful game of one football to
To the other
American
football.
football. And the Dallas Cowboys, they came out on Thanksgiving and they did what they needed to do. I got to hear what you have to say about this performance and the Dallas Cowboys in general because I know what I'm going to say, but I want to hear you first.
Yeah. Yeah, the Cowboys came out in the first half and it wasn't looking very good, looked dicey. The Giants had a pretty good start, but then, as soon as the Cowboys got in the swing in the second half, they just did Cowboy things. I mean, Micah and the Marauders, they're playing out of their mind. And, Ezekiel Elliott, pretty good game, ran for just under 100 yards, and CeeDee Lamb played well, and Dak played good, played what he did what he had to do. And this Cowboys team, is impressing, and adding on to what we're starting to believe is a Super Bowl bound team. And I'm still not ready to say we're going to touch upon that right after this, but I'm still not ready to say that yet. I still think they need Odell, but they're looking very very good, and they're starting to do what we've been asking them to do, be consistent. We want to see consistency, and that's what they're starting to do.
100%. Look, a lot of people coming into this game expected, the Cowboys to come out and it to be a complete blowout. But if you really know, divisional games just aren't going to be like that. This was a Thanksgiving game, prime time because it's Thanksgiving, 4:30, and it's a divisional game against your arch rival, the New York Giants. It was never going to be an easy game, and that's exactly what we saw from the kickoff. At halftime, the Giants had the lead, and people were, saying, "Oh man, same old
Oh
Cowboys."
my god.
The no consistency, and Dak, he had thrown a pick, and it wasn't looking good. But the Cowboys, they showed a little bit of that championship grit. That they haven't won anything obviously yet, but they showed what you need to do in order to make it that far. You have to show that grit. You have to show that you can get it done when the pressure is on. And that's what they did against a tough divisional opponent. Divisional games are always extremely, extremely hard. And Dak came out in the second half and he looked like a man who knew that he had to perform and he did what he needed to do, throwing a couple touchdowns to Dalton Scholes and putting CD Lamb having 6 catches for 106 yards.
He did
He did his
everything
thing.
except get a touchdown.
He did everything except get a touchdown. Dak, this team is going to go as far as Dak takes them. And obviously, I think that they will end up getting Odell, but that's neither here nor there. Even as currently constructed, because of the fact that they are showing a little bit of consistency, because of the fact that Dak seems to be, in my opinion, playing at a good level. He's showing that he can be consistent. And although he threw 2 interceptions in this game, I'm not taking that too crazy here. I think that this Dallas Cowboys team can and will be a Super Bowl contender. I think that come playoff time, they will be in the NFC Championship game. They'll probably be playing the 49ers, and it's going to be a really close game between those two. If they get Odell, for me, they're 100% going to win that game. Even if they don't, it's going to be a close game. I
Yeah.
think the 1-2 punch of Zeke and Tony Pollard is going to be good enough to win you a lot of games. It takes pressure off of Dak. And even though Pollard or Zeke, they had both have a decent game, but they didn't quite have great games. Zeke probably had the better of the two games, getting 92 yards, just under 100, and getting the touchdown. But we've seen how good Pollard can be, and he didn't quite have a great game. And it's one of those things when one doesn't play as good, the other can pick up the slack. And sometimes they're both going to have great games. And it just goes to show the depth of this Cowboys team. It goes to show that this team can find multiple ways to win, that they can get it done when it matters the most, under pressure, when they didn't play a great first half. It's just they're showing that they can win in multiple different ways, and that's what you need in order to win a Super Bowl. Not every game is going to be butterflies and rainbows, a perfect performance. Everything's going to go your way. The calls with the refs are going to go your way. It's not like that. You're going to need to find ways to win in difficult ways, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys are being able to do. And it's what the main difference for me between this Cowboys team and the old Cowboys teams of the past, that they're finding a way to win these games. And you can't tell me otherwise that the previous Cowboys teams of years past would have lost this game. They would have lost this game. They would have folded after halftime, and the Giants would have came out and they would have won this game. But this shows to me that this team is a little bit different than those other teams, and they can go win the Super Bowl potentially because they're showing that they can win in multiple different ways. And Dak is playing great football. CeeDee Lamb playing great football. Zeke, Tony Pollard. And obviously, I didn't even touch upon how great this defense is, led by Micah
Yeah.
Parsons, 11 from heaven.
I feel like it doesn't really have to be touched upon. It's
It
like
doesn't have
if
to
the
be at this
Cowboys
point.
play, their defense is always gonna be
Exactly. It
is
comes
always gonna
down
be good.
it comes down to can the offense be as consistent as the defense is, and they're finally seem to have finding that rhythm. And I didn't even touch upon the fact that Michael Gallup seems to finally be back in the fold and
We
healthy.
said it last episode. It's like Gallup looks finally so he's finally looks like the player that
So,
he was
so
before
just
injury.
just imagine the 1, 2, 3 punch of CeeDee Lamb, Odell Beckham Jr., and Michael Gallup. I mean, it's just going to terrorize defenses. And then you've got Tony Pollard coming out of the backfield with Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, Dak is going to have a plethora of weapons. There's going to be no excuse right now for me. There's no excuse that this Cowboys team, they have to at least make the NFC Championship game. If they get Odell, for me, they're definitely making the Super Bowl. It's just
Yeah.
what?
Oh no, I was gonna say that if they get Odell, I'm fully going in that I think the Cowboys are gonna win the Super Bowl. If they get Odell, I think that's the final piece because that's what you want. You want the offense to be as consistent as your defense. And I think with Odell, if you can get him back, he'll have some time to really get cooking before, past the first round to where, you know, Odell can get fully into it towards the later end and
Yeah.
get you to the promised land.
Yeah, and like we said last episode, it's just gonna come down to, is Jerry Jones gonna pay the money? And he better.
Yeah.
He has to pay this
You,
money because even without Odell, they're looking like a well-oiled machine that is gonna contend for the Super Bowl. But it's like adding the sprinkles to the top of the cake, it's the icing.
yeah.
You gotta, get this final piece to the puzzle, and like we said last episode, they have no excuse, and it's pretty much come down to these two teams that just played. And if Odell Beckham, if he's looking at the way that the Cowboys just played, and he's deciding not to go to the Cowboys, this guy just doesn't know ball, and that's not the case. Odell wants to go to a place where he can win a Super Bowl, and if Odell Beckham is able to bring the Dallas Cowboys a Super Bowl, even an NFC Championship game appearance, he's going to be looked at it as a god in Dallas, because they've been looking for their
A
Cowboys to
savior. Yeah.
they've been looking for their Cowboys to make that championship appearance and get back there, and they haven't been able to do it in such a long time. If Odell Beckham is the guy who's able to help bring that back, I mean, what more could this guy want? I mean, look, I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan, but you just have to respect the greatness of this team, and they are looking like a well-oiled machine that, for me, as of right now, Super Bowl contenders. And when I'm saying when, because I think it's happening, when they sign Odell Beckham, they're looking like the favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we could agree that we had is going to come down to the 49ers and the Cowboys. And right now, I think the Cowboys as of right now look like they have the upper hand even without Odell.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know how good the 49ers are. How
For-
dynamic they are. You know,
they're looking like a well-oiled machine.
they can match the Cowboys and they could basically almost match them in defense. And I think they're a tick over in offense. I mean, it's hard to compare. I mean, they got Christian McCaffrey, but then you got the 1-2 punch in Zeke and Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
So I mean, one has Debo, the other has CD Lamb and Michael Gallup. So
Yeah.
it's gonna come down a lot to the fact that who just really shows up. And I think, if they add on, I cannot go as far to you say, oh, it's when they get Odell, because it's just even every more interview I hear from Jerry, it just doesn't sound good. I mean, he's saying that, I don't know if I talked to Odell, but I gotta see how his injury. He might not play this year. It's like, what? I mean, you haven't
Yeah.
even looked at the damn guy.
I don't even know
I
what
like
what he meant by that. I mean,
you
he
have to give him, because he's almost like giving himself a way out, being like, oh, we didn't get Odell because he wasn't healthy. We can't
Mhm.
get a guy who's not healthy. But I think from what all the reports have said, Odell has already I think after December he's fully ready and he's back to start training with a team. So I think Jerry has to just you know do it, man. I mean, this we've covered this already. We've already had this conversation. Jerry has said that he'll plunge, and then this is the time to plunge. There's no other time like the present to do it. And Odell's that guy. If there's
you gotta do it.
if there's anybody you're gonna do it for, it's gotta be Odell.
Yeah. And back to, just for a second here, this 49ers Cowboys conversation. The reason why I tend to lean towards the Cowboys even right now in this matchup, obviously last season, the 49ers were able to get the better of them, but or a couple seasons ago, whenever it was. But for me, in matchups like this in the playoffs, I tend to lean towards the team that has the better quarterback. And it's no disrespect to Jimmy G, but I think Dak is a better quarterback, and the supporting cast is good enough with this defense that they would find a way to beat the 49ers. The 49ers have some great weapons, and in my opinion, they have the better coach. They have Kyle Shanahan, one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the league. But
Yeah,
give me a better quarterback over a better coach, in my opinion. So that's why I have to lean towards the Dallas Cowboys. And that's not saying Dak is the best quarterback in the NFL or even in the NFC, but he's better than Jimmy G. And Jimmy G's
yeah,
been playing well, but Dak is better.
yeah. Absolutely, I have to agree.
Ooh, is that it for this one?
I think yeah, we're trying to a little bit of a shorter episode to try and cover these topics a bit quicker. You
Yeah,
know,
no, that's what I would say. This was a shorter episode, obviously, than the normal because we were trying to uh, be able have the opportunity to give our thoughts on some of these games because with the World Cup coming so thick and fast, if you wait and you do one in the middle of the week, you missed out on 3, 4 games that you could talk about that
yeah,
are you got to talk about. For example, if we waited to when we normally talk about it, we probably wouldn't have been able to give our thoughts on this England USA game. And we'll be back here to give our thoughts again on a lot of these teams in a couple days when they
yeah.
play their third and final match. But it's just one of those things we needed to get this one out, and it's a little bit shorter because not as much has happened. But I'm anticipating that the next one will be probably back to normal length
Oh
because
yeah. Well, because tomorrow we got football. We got
great,
football
yeah, we
back,
get some great
and
games tomorrow.
and to stack it on top of the World Cup is just gonna be, it's gonna be back to normal. But we wanted to get this one out quickly because you know, we wanted to get our initial thoughts on the Argentina game. We wanted to touch upon, some of these key matchups because now every team's played at least one game.
Yep.
So now we're gonna start getting to, how teams, what are they really like? What can we really expect from these guys?
Yeah.
And we're gonna try and stay on top of it as much as we can. We're gonna try and upload a bit more. Be a little bit try to get a couple more in there, but we're just gonna see how everything plans out and how everything goes.
Yeah, especially with the World Cup, at least while this tournament is going on, it's probably going to be a little bit more thick and fast because the tournament moves so quickly. Games happening every day, 4 games a day, and
Yeah,
you got to give your thoughts. And it's one of those things. If you wait, then that opportunity, kind of goes out the window. So it's one of those things, and I think it's a good thing. More content, more episodes coming very soon, and just expect it because I would say an episode midweek it's going to
is
come.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I,
So
if you probably would ask me right now, I would probably do one Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those days.
Probably after what I'm thinking, probably I have to look at the schedule, but probably after the round or but maybe after all of the group stage games have been played. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
on Wednesday.
yeah. I think we'll probably do it right before where we know every team that's going into the round of 16, basically.
Exactly, and then we'll be able to touch on what we think is if we're going forward with that. So we got some great things coming soon, some great
Yeah,
content. It's one of those things, the greatest tournament potentially of all time in the world. It's when it's going on. You got to stay on top of it. So.
yeah, absolutely. I think we should just wrap this one up.
Yeah, exactly. So we appreciate y'all for tuning into this episode 30. A little bit of a shorter episode, like we said, but we had to get these topics touched on. We're currently on the road to 1,000 subscribers. 344 at the moment. We're gaining subs pretty much every episode. If you really listen, every episode I'm saying a higher number than I did last episode. So
That's good.
appreciate all the fans and appreciate
Absolutely.
everyone for leaving likes, leaving comments. We appreciate everybody. Leave your comments in the comment down below on anything that we said. If you're watching the World Cup, which I assume most people are, what did you think about some of these games? Did you think, France are looking like favorites? What did you think about Neymar's injury in Brazil? Leave it all in the comment box down below and hit the subscribe button while you're down there because we are on the road to 1,000. But G, any last words?
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta harp on the same thing you guys were saying. I mean, anything you guys have your opinions on the World Cup, respond to it. Comment down below. We read all comments and we respond to all comments. I mean, we want to give this platform to you guys as well. We want to be able to bring on your guys' opinions and talk about them
Hmm.
because this is the main reason we got into this. We want to talk about sports and this is the glory of the sport, just bringing people together to have a conversation, even if you don't agree.
Yeah,
It's just we want to know what you guys think. We see it all, and all our social media handles in the description. Just pick one and tell us what you think.
exactly. So with all that being said, man, let's go ahead and officially wrap this one up. This was episode 30 of the Shooter Straight podcast. I'm your co-host, Zach,
I'm your co-host G.
and we'll see y'all next time, probably sometime this week. Coming soon. Peace.
Peace.